Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and we are so pleased to have in the studio with us today our friends from the SunCoast Market Co-op. We got Ramon Chairez. He is the founder and Latino Outreach Coordinator, and joined by Shannon Ratliff, Board Vice President of the organization. Ramon and Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Joined as always by my phenomenal co-host, and that is Kristen Fogel. Kristen's the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. We'll be celebrating a 20th anniversary next year. They're in Liberty Station, and Kristen's done a great job co-hosting, and in about 2 more episodes, I'll just have her take over the show together, and I'll be on the beach enjoying myself.
You do have a fabulous boat, so you know it's an option.
Well, yes, we do have some fun on that. So, Kristen, I know you got some questions for Ramon.
I do. I just want to learn more about the mission of the organization, just for starters.
Well, I'll start with just a quick correction. I'm not the founder of SunCoast Market Co-op.
Okay.
Actually, we have about 9 to 10 original co-founders. Mm-hmm. We came together back in 2015. We had a need in our community. No grocery stores wanted to come. And so we got this beautiful presentation from Ocean Beach People's Co-op. And from that moment on, we just knew we had to do this for ourselves. And so those most of those co-founders are still on the board. And we are going strong.
That's great.
So you guys, how many years ago did you start?
Started in 2015.
Yeah, in 2015, okay, very good. Were you one of the co-founders too?
I came in just a few months after everybody started. And so there was a lot of community meetings that were happening at the time to gauge community interest in a cooperative model and really to solve the problem of not having grocery stores in Imperial Beach. And so I came on then and haven't left. I can't decide if this is what I do in my free time or if my real job is what I do in my free time.
I have a couple of those, yeah.
So it blends some of this stuff over here. So,
please don't leave, Shannon.
That's right. Ramon is absolutely pleading with you on it. So listen, for our listeners, what exactly is a grocery cooperative?
That's a great question, and a question we have to answer a lot because although cooperatives are very common across the nation, in Southern San Diego, or Southern California in general, there are not a lot of co-ops. So a co-op is a group of people that come together to solve a common need. And so for us, it's the need to have a grocery store. There's only one other grocery co-op in San Diego. That's Ocean Beach People's Food Co-op in Ocean Beach. Outside of that, we don't have a lot of existing co-ops in California, but we have a lot that are also in the startup process because there's a need to have a grocery store in a lot of communities that have lost them over the years.
Right. So basically, somebody is working on some aspects of the grocery. Does someone work on the vegetables, and someone works on the meat, and some works on the bread, and some works on the fruits? How does that work, Ramon?
Well, so what we do is there's different ways to form a cooperative, but the model that we've chosen is to have a board, and our board is making major decisions. Most of them are being influenced by our ownership base and what they want. So right now we are 1,200 strong in terms of owners, and that's across residents, but also businesses and really organizations, right, and companies. So we hire a general manager, and that general manager is an expert on cooperatives, ideally, right?
Right.
And they make the decisions, they do the hiring, and so in a perfect situation, the board is working hand in hand with the general manager, and the board is also working hand in hand with its ownership base.
Right.
And so it's a regular grocery store like a Vons or a Northgate, right? But it's really being influenced by the needs of the community and what we need to see in our community, whether it's health, whether it's working with local farms, whether it's trying to stimulate our local economy and create jobs, like where we are listening to our community.
Right. So you have a physical location, is that right?
We are. We currently have a lease agreement on a location, so we can start construction soon. We're just completing our fundraising.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so we have the fundraising. So is it going to be the size of a grocery store like Vaughn's, or is it going to be a little smaller?
It's going to be a little smaller. So really with grocery co-ops, there's no corporate backing. There's nobody out there funding the project.
Right.
Everything is homegrown. I mean, I'm talking collection plates passed at our original meetings to pay for all the things that needed to be paid for. And so everything we have to find funding for. So for us, what's really feasible for us to open is a 6,200 square foot store.
Yeah.
That's what our market advisors have said. And we are under the advisement of national cooperative organizations. And so that's the ideal size for us to start. So it'll be 6,200 square feet in the Silver Strand Plaza in Imperial Beach.
Oh, very, very cool. So when you do this, then you're going to build all the infrastructure in it, because right now it's not there, correct?
That's right.
And how cool is that to be at the ground floor on this stuff? Oh, my goodness. And then you decide what's going to go in there based on what the community needs and so forth. Is that right, Ramon?
That's correct. I think for us, it's a really exciting development because this has been a 8-year journey. Most of the board has been on board for this journey. We have an incredible team of predominantly women powered, dedicating a lot of time and energy to making this happen. And so, what was your question again, Drew?
Well, I mean, the fact that, you're going to sit there and build this from the ground up, but that's also on what the needs of the folks want.
Right.
And if they don't want any legumes, and I'm using that word for the first time in my life because I don't even know what it is.
Who doesn't like a legume?
Co-ops are educators.
Yeah,
That's part of our mission
It's a lentil.
statement.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. All right, so no, seriously, you're going to be put in what the community wants, right?
Yes. So how it worked in the beginning, there was a lot of logistics that have to happen to become a cooperative, be able to take on owners, which we haven't talked about. The co-op is consisted of owners that purchase $200 ownership shares. So as an owner, you have some perks. You can run for the board of directors. You can vote for the board of directors. And you help make decisions about what we need. When the store opens, there's dividend sharing when the store's profitable, but profits aren't the goal for the co-op. And so throughout all of these years, we have done a ton of community engagement, a lot of tabling events, a lot of surveying, a lot of meetings to gauge what the missing needs are in our community. And so what we've learned is that people really are looking for fresh produce. They're looking to support local farms and buy those foods every single day. People are looking for bulk foods. People are looking for more sustainable food options. They want less plastic. They want to be able to buy things in the amount that they need to help save money. But we also find that people are looking to be able to have salads and grab-and-go foods and bakery items and all of these different things that you would expect to find in any grocery store. So that's the information that we've used as we've decided on which departments we're going to have, what's going to be in each aisle, what are we going to have when you walk in the store, what is it going to look like, and then just other things like what's the vibe of the store, And for us, we're a border town, we're a large military community. We have a large aging population in Imperial Beach, and then we also have a lot of new families that are coming in. So we're trying to meet the needs of a variety of different people. And so that's the super cool part, actually, about being on the board of directors for SunCoast.
Yeah,
I'll also add that we're going to be the first cooperative in the entire nation that's going to be opening in a predominantly Latina community. And so that's a big deal for us. We want to make sure that we're serving everyone, and we're very aware that we have to pull in our Latino community to make sure that there's buy-in there as well. So we do a lot of work on the ground in terms of food demonstrations and just education around what a cooperative is, because it doesn't matter what community you come from. That's been the first question. We don't have a culture of cooperatives in Southern California. You see them more in the Midwest. In Northern California, they're pretty popular. And the interesting thing is that we have a long history of cooperatives in our country. And so if you go back to the South, post Jim Crow, our African brothers and sisters, they organized and created collectives and cooperatives to grow their economy and really grow their own businesses, right? Despite the fact that they were being, challenged and squashed by their local governments and state governments. So,
yeah, no, this all sounds great. We're chatting with Shannon Ratliff, Board Vice President for SunCoast Market Co-op, joined by her colleague, Ramon Chairez, a co-founder, one of 10 co-founders. Is that right? Did I get that right? 8 co-founders?
It's about that. I think the thing with co-ops is that everybody's in it together. So
Everybody-
there's not a lot of,
it's 9 or 10.
there's no status.
All right, say somewhere 9 or 10. He's also the Latino Outreach Coordinator. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We've been doing this for 17 years, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and these very cool Mission Fed studios and Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed's been doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years, joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Vogel, the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. I know you have another question for these folks.
I have lots of questions because, I visited OB's co-op and things like that and just thought how cool it is and everything
Beautiful,
like
right?
that. Yeah, it's such a beautiful store. It's such a great idea. I love that you're all doing this. So there are owners. Is there also a membership base or are those synonymous?
synonymous.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Member, owners.
Okay,
members.
all of those things.
Anybody could shop there, by the way. You don't
Okay.
have to be an owner or a member.
Good to know. And, we've kind of touched on this, but how do cooperatives strengthen the local food system?
Oh, wow. There's a ton of ways we do that. Bear with me on this, but when I look at Imperial Beach and neighboring communities like National City, who are kind of plagued with a ton of fast food and also the health statistics in terms of food-related illnesses that go along with those, with that kind of presence in the community. Really what we're talking about is who owns the food system. And if you look around visually, at least you'd think that the fast food industry owns the food system. And so that's why we're having some of these health issues. I got lost in preaching here.
No, it's good. It just seems...
That's a great preach. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So really, what we're really trying to do is take over a small portion of the food system and say we have control over this, and we should, right?
Yeah.
At least that's the message we get, right? In terms of democracy and ownership and who owns things, and so we have the power to control part of our food system and what it is that we're supporting environmentally. Whether it's regenerative farms that are using soil practices that keep our soil alive and provide us with nutrient-dense produce. It's also creating jobs and a business that's going to create more money in our community rather than some of that money leaving our community through corporate grocery stores. And so we produce more in terms of our local economy than a corporate grocery store. Shannon?
I want to tag on to that and just say that where a company spends its money says a lot about its values, right? Yeah. And so I think when we look at the food system, larger corporate grocery stores, they have different values. There's profit is a primary value there. In a co-op, our values are very different. Where your food comes from matters, and people should know where their food is coming from. I think during COVID, it was highlighted to us that we have a very fragile food system. So we've seen supply chain issues still continue to this day. But cooperatives can be responsive. They act quickly. We're focused on the local economy, local businesses. So those supply chain issues are very different when you have a local focus. And the other part of it too is not only do people deserve healthy, good food everywhere, it shouldn't matter where you live on whether or not you can afford to buy local or organic or healthy food items. But the people that produce those foods also matter, right? They deserve to have fair wages. And so in San Diego, we have a lot of farms. We have a lot of producers of great specialty food.
5,000 small farms to be precise.
Is that right?
Yeah, about 5,000. I don't know how many of them are actually producing food, but I would say about half of them are producing food, and a lot of that is going out of the county and out of the state. So our local farm system is not necessarily working towards providing food for our local residents. And so not to speak badly about local farmers, because I think they do an amazing job, and there's some spectacular farms out there doing beautiful work when it comes to soil practices and being more mindful about what's in the soil and what they're growing.
But think about, like, if you had to think right now, if you wanted to support a local farm and you wanted to buy food that was grown locally, how would you do it?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Matter of fact, when we come back from break, I want to get that question answered. And then one of the things we want to make sure that our listeners can support your efforts. And so think about what they can do to support what they're doing. Maybe they can be part of the ownership in this aspect of it as well. When we return on another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. It is the longest running community podcast in the nation, now in our 17th year, as we return with Shannon Ratliff and Ramon Chairez from SunCoast Market Co-op and my co-host, Kristen Fogel from San Diego Writers, Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, chatting with the good folks from SunCoast Market Co-op, Shannon Ratliff, Board Vice President, and Ramon Chairez. He is a co-founder, one of 9 or 10, somewhere in between that number, and Latino Outreach Coordinator, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Kristen, you got another question?
Well, Shannon sounded like she was posing a question earlier on the break, so I think I have an answer if you want to pose it again.
Yes. So my question is, if you wanted to buy locally grown food or locally made food items, how would you do it now?
Farmer's market? Maybe?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anywhere else?
I don't know. I just go to Vaughn's and then pick out the same old stuff that I've been doing for the last.
But
4
is
billion
it local? Where does it come from? I don't even know,
Exactly.
You're talking to the wrong guy on this thing here. I need to pay more attention to this stuff, to say the least, on it. But I want to talk about something Ramon brought up, and it's so spot on. We've had this conversation on our show, many conversations for the last 17 years. San Ysidro Health Center has been a pretty frequent guest. And we've chatted about this, and childhood obesity is in absolutely crisis stages. We all know that, and you're sort of alluding that to it a little bit. And if we don't get that under control, it's going to absolutely suffocate our health system, is it not?
Well, when you really start to grasp what that means, especially in the South Bay, because we have amongst the county's highest rates of
That's right.
childhood obesity and diabetes, you realize that a lot of our kids are not really getting a chance. And so
right.
they're starting off their life with a whole array of future health problems. And so we know what those indicators are at this point, right? And we know that it's an issue. And so, yes, that we're gonna impact our health system, but more importantly, like, what are the educational impacts, right? When a kid is going to school and he's not healthy in terms of the food that him or her are eating, his or her, they're not performing, right? In terms of academics, they're not engaging with physical activities, and we know that high schools and middle schools are places where kids, the things that are available to them are their sports. And so I think of a lot of those kids, and I think that what they're being offered in other spaces is more YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. And not to talk badly about that, but I just don't know what kind of society we're going to create in these communities where our kids are perpetually sick. So,
And the availability of nutritious food items has a huge impact on whether or not somebody is going to have these health outcomes or have these educational opportunities or be able to perform. And when you are surrounded by fast food, liquor, and convenience stores, in fact, we have about 50 of them in 4 square miles in Imperial Beach alone without a full-service grocery store. That's a huge problem, right? And so food availability matters. And most of the food businesses that are out there, their primary concern is not the health of the community.
Right.
A cooperative, that is our concern. In fact, it's our mission is to not only be able to provide food, local food, nutritious food, but to provide health education. And that's what we've been doing since 2015. So we haven't just been figuring out how to build a grocery store. We've been figuring out how do we have the most impact on our community health as possible. We do it through cooking programs, which I'll let Ramon talk about what he's got going on. We do it through food distributions. In COVID, we had a huge crisis where people, initially, if you remember, people were terrified to go to the grocery store. They didn't even know how to get food. And so we immediately mobilized, and within about 10 days of the shutdown, we're providing drive-through contactless groceries for people in conjunction with a partnership with Specialty Produce. That was supporting local food. That was supporting nutritious food items. That was getting people the food that they needed. And we could do it in 10 days. You're never going to see that in a corporate store. Why? Because they're not embedded in your community. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what the needs are. So when we talk about how co-ops impact a food system, it's from seed all the way to when you put the food in your mouth after, at dinner time.
So Ramon, we were hearing about what Shannon was talking about, some type of a cooking deal you have going on. Talk about that.
Yes, so we've run different programs through our cooperative. We've worked with Chef de Cuisine. We've worked with Olivewood Gardens, who I believe has been on your program. Jen was here.
They're great.
I love Jen. Shout out to Jen and all the ladies over at
they're wonderful
at the Olivewood Gardens Learning Center.
Yes.
So we've done these programs, and during COVID, we did a really cool program where we took high school kids and some middle school kids from Imperial Beach, Mar Vista, and some of the local schools, and they got to cook, and it was awesome because we were all doing it virtually, and they had their own little classrooms with everything that they needed, and so you would see like siblings in the background, or parents, mamas in the background, like giving them things to do and stuff. They were all part of it. They were kind of just off to the side of view from everyone's cameras. So we're doing something like that now in person with the Boys and Girls Club. We're also collaborating with the South Bay Union School District to bring the Kitchenistas of National City to their Coffee with the Principals meetings, just to get more engagement in our community around healthy cooking, about food and nutrition, and just hopefully try to build a movement among, particularly mothers, right? So we know who's doing the shopping, we know who's doing the cooking, and it's moms. Not to say that there aren't some spectacular dads out there doing the work too, but and so we really want to create the kind of movement that Olivewood Gardens has created in terms of mobilizing a lot of moms. And so they have an amazing program, and so we want to do the same thing.
And he'll be offering that in Spanish language.
Kristen, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Olivewood Gardens. They're down in National, area, National City. We work closely with that school district. LeAngela Brady is one of our good friends. She's the superintendent at National, and Jose Espinoza down at South Bay.
Shout out to Jose.
He's very cool cat. And Moises out at Sweetwater, and a lot of our good friends. We're very well connected in the community as well, and certainly San Ysidro, no difference on this. So we can't talk enough about what you folks are doing in that. we've got a few more minutes on the show here, but Ramon promised me somewhere down the road, and this is on.
Drew, you're starting to sound like an ex-girlfriend. Promise me.
I'm not your
Just
ex-girlfriend.
you wait. This is just your first time on the show.
No, you know what? We always do it. We always have as a follow-up, as Kristen knows, because she's taken the advantage of this too. We always like to have someone come back in that has benefited from what you folks are doing. So we want to have maybe bring in some of your Hollywood, friends or maybe some of the kids and the parents that are making some of those meals as well down the road. Because it's the connectivity with the community, and that's what you guys are all about, as you said so well, Shannon. It's all about community, or else you wouldn't be doing this thing, and so forth. Kristen, I know you have a final question.
I do. So what can our listeners do to support your efforts?
Great question. So there's a couple of things. First of all, becoming an owner in the co-op. And so again, and you're an owner member, it's a one-time share purchase. It's a $200 purchase. We also have financial assistance available and $10 a month payment plans for people. So we want to make sure that it's accessible. In fact, if there's anybody that can't afford to become an owner and really wants to, they should reach out to us. We have great donors who are willing to support
We'll make it happen.
anyone. Yes.
So is it $200 a month?
It's a one-time share purchase. So you're an actual shareholder in the store. You have profit sharing. Again, our goal is not profit, so no one should go in thinking that they're going to make money off of it. But what you have is a voice. As an owner, you have a voice in what the store values are, what's on the shelves, who's on the board of directors, the decisions that are made. So we can't underestimate the importance of ownership. We have almost 1,200 now, but our goal is endless. There could be an endless number of owners.
Well,
the second thing,
we're going to make a commitment here. At least I will personally.
Yeah, Drew.
You send me an invoice for that, and I'll be one of those owners.
Kristen,
it's fantastic.
Kristen, where are you with this?
You can do the same for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please do.
No.
It sounds like it's so worthy.
100%.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. That goes a long way. Really.
It does. Anybody that shares the values of community health, supporting local food, supporting the local economy, supporting sustainable grocery options should consider being an owner.
Yeah.
And the second thing people can do is we're in the middle of a fundraising campaign. We need to raise $1.6 million by the fall to keep the space that we're currently in. That's a big undertaking. And so we are seeking anyone who's interested in financially supporting those things that I just mentioned. We have store sponsorships. So if somebody wants to help sponsor the produce department, they want to sponsor the bakery, they want to sponsor the bike racks, these parts of the stores, they should reach out to us. And then we're also doing a fundraising campaign for the equipment. So nobody's financially backing the store. So we actually have to buy our own oven and our own microwaves and our own, coffee dispensers. And so if you go to suncoastmarket.coop, which is .coop, you can see that we have a Fund a Need campaign right now for our equipment purchase.
Well, that sounds great. Well, I know we'll have you folks back on the air, hopefully sooner than later. Absolutely a pleasure chatting with you, Ramon and Shannon. Make sure you say hi to our friends at Olivewood, and then, of course, to Jose and Moises and all the folks down in South Bay and LeAngela and so forth. I think that's great. In fact, I can't wait to share this with those folks that you came in. And
we're all a family.
Well, we're going to look forward to following you on this and, continuing on this great plan. I know Kristen is too. That's in her DNA as well. And wishing you just nothing but great success moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Drew. Thank you, Kristen. We're hoping that we create a movement beyond just Imperial Beach, but hopefully that we're going to be that there'll be a third or fourth cooperative in San Diego County in the next 10 years. So
Co-op in every community is what we'd love to see.
Well, what you say here first on our Spotlight on the Community Show. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Good. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We hope you enjoyed the program.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.